Great. Thank you so much, Sean, and welcome everyone for attending our session today. In terms of our agenda today, we're going to highlight some of the key updates, major updates here with the Zurich release for ServiceNow Strategic Portfolio Management. But today we'll be giving you an overview of the new capabilities. And we're going to focus in on strategic planning, project workspace, the resource management workspace, collaborative work management, and Now Assist. So that's going to be the core focus here for the SPM What's New in Zurich. So those of you that don't know us, we've been assisting customers and helping them optimize the outcomes and results of their software investments. And so our core strategic partner is ServiceNow. And so our key areas of focus around strategic portfolio management, project portfolio management, service management, as well as analytics and reporting, a key function that we see for adoption and effective decision making. So a couple things here I wanted to highlight, just some best practices as we dive in here. Some of you might be new to ServiceNow SPM. Probably many of you might be experts and been using the solution for a while. But this is kind of a typical picture that we show for organizations as we start going through an implementation as well as from a training perspective. And so if we look at it from a top-down perspective, we have overall plans and strategies. We can put together our strategic plans and roadmaps. We can do enterprise agile planning as appropriate. And then we're seeing a bulk from a strategic portfolio management perspective, the whole project intake, i.e. demand management in ServiceNow. And so what you're seeing there is where you can allow teams to submit project ideas, project requests, and those would go through an overall evaluation process. And typically you want to validate those requests, you want to create some estimates. The key focus is creating a business case, is also making sure that you align it to your strategic priorities and strategic strategies for the organization. And then you would go into various levels of approvals as part of your governance process. Architecture and finance approvals are what we normally see. And then your various steering committee executive approvals for final funding, and as well as getting approval based on resource capacity to initiate the project. Here what we're highlighting is hybrid project management. We're seeing that as kind of the common trend now. There are definitely some organizations that are still in traditional waterfall, but we're seeing more and more in hybrid and agile. And then you'll see below the core capabilities around project portfolio management, such as risk issues, decisions, actions, and change requests, to project plans and status reports. Below that, you'll see collaborative work management. So those of you that are not familiar with that new solution, it's a great solution for project managers and teams that are looking at doing detailed task management. It could be for big projects, could be for small, but that's gives them a space that they can just work and collaborate on those tasks. We've also seen that as a very effective tool, say for PMO organizations or other groups, to really kind of work on, non-project activities that they would be doing on an ongoing basis. And so it's a great way to collaborate. One of the new capabilities that just came out is now you can actually connect all of your other work types across the platform in ServiceNow in collaborative work management, and you can bring those into one common workplace. So say, for example, if you have a team that needs to support incident management or problem management, you can bring that in as alongside your demand tasks or your project tasks and manage those in the collaborative work management arena. So a great capability there. I'll highlight some of the new capabilities that came out here in the Zurich release. So that just kind of gives you a high-level view here of how we look at SPM. It's all about investing in the right initiatives, achieving the right outcomes for the organization, and balancing the core resources, both financial and human resources so that we can effectively provide those outcomes that the organization is looking for. As part of that kind of agile and hybrid project management, like we mentioned, we do see that a lot for organizations. So this kind of gives you a picture of what hybrid might look like, where you're doing traditional planning, project charter requirements, and your first phase there of your project, and then you're executing the delivery of the project, meaning building those new solutions, building those communication plans, and going through that execution kind of sprint planning and execution process. And then at the end, typically you're doing your closing activities, your transition to operations, those traditional kind of waterfall type of activities. And so this is kind of how we see many organizations managing and delivering hybrid projects. This is just another example here, how you can use the different components here within ServiceNow, strategic portfolio management, to support hybrid projects. And so that could start off with your strategic plan, strategic planning there. That would then create your execution project in the project workspace. And you can manage it there. In that project workspace, you can identify, is this a hybrid project as an example? If it is, then your teams could be working in their various agile tool of choice. ServiceNow has a great solution for that. They're also including some of that sprint planning in the current release for collaborative work management, but we also do a lot of integrations for other third-party tools. So if you're looking for ways to integrate your third-party tools or how to use ServiceNow's agile solutions for hybrid project management, we can definitely assist you with that, as we've been helping many customers implement that hybrid approach. Here's just another example of how you can set up hybrid. The most common approach, and this is also kind of tied into the different third-party integrations, is you're just really bringing in your stories so the project manager can understand the stories or sprints associated with the project. In this example here, it's a great opportunity to also look at epics as well. So if you have teams that are 100% doing agile, and then the PMO still needs to do the traditional reporting of common deliverables, as you see on top here, and common report up to management that wants to see resource and financials. You can manage it that way, but then the individual teams, they can create epics, groom those epics into stories, plan those sprints, execute those, and then that information can roll up into the actual project. So the project manager reporting up to the PMO gets their visibility, and then the Scrum teams get their visibility in their agile tool of choice. So that's another example here that we've implemented for customers. So now we want to talk about strategic planning, some of the best practices and some of the updates here for strategic planning workspace. These changes are basically synonymous with portfolio planning. Obviously, those of you that are using portfolio planning, it has a few less capabilities, and I'll highlight those as appropriate. But strategic planning is kind of the core solution with end-to-end capabilities. So here, when we kind of look at things from an overall strategic planning perspective, one thing that we found is strategic planning can actually be done in pockets of the organization, and that information can just reside in that strategic planning office. As an example, because strategic planning has an integration layer, you can decide what you actually then spill over into your execution, such as execution of your projects, as an example. So you can kind of make those decisions based on the different groups using the strategic planning capabilities. But you can start off here on the left-hand side by creating a strategic plan. Maybe your organization has an annual strategic plan that you create. Basically, what you can do is you can basically enter all the information in to ServiceNow like you would see with a strategic plan that might be shared with external stakeholders as well as internal stakeholders. And so that can all be here within ServiceNow. You then typically break that into strategic priorities or themes that your organization might refer to them as. And then from here, you can break those down into goals and goal targets. For organizations that are doing OKRs, which are objectives and key results, you can basically relabel the goals and goals target tables to objectives and key results. And that way the organization could use objectives and key results. And then obviously once you have your priorities, your goals and goal targets, then you can start identifying what are the strategic initiatives that we need to implement as an organization to achieve these goals and outcomes. And then those initiatives, right, can be broken down into specific projects that different teams, different groups will then implement. And that can then be included as part of your roadmap planning. You'll notice here in the middle, we've got prioritization. That's definitely a key component. We need to make sure that we have the budget and the resources to do the work. But they have a very simplified way of doing scoring. So they have a couple of scoring frameworks that are out of the box, but also allows you can just configure your own scoring frameworks. So it's a more simplified way of doing scoring, if you will, versus the traditional demand intake with assessments and such. So it's a more lightweight, lean approach for scoring. So typically what we see organizations do, not every organization creates a strategic plan, but we're seeing that more and more that organizations do create their strategic plan, but most of them definitely focus on their strategic goals. So that's where they create, many of you might have heard primary goal that you associate to your demand or your project. Those then relate to an overall strategic priority or theme. So almost all organizations have the strategic priorities and goals. But more are adopting, creating an actual strategic plan that those items roll up into. And you can do a various hierarchy, so you can create corporate, company-wide strategic plans and priorities and goals, as you can do business unit. You can also even make those functional based. So we've seen a lot of organizations create, say, like what's their strategic AI plan for the organization, so they can create that strategic plan, specific priorities and goals, and then they can map initiatives directly to that. So kind of the sky's the limit in terms of how you want to use the ability for strategic plans, goals, and targets. One of the other thing that you can also do is you can start looking at the planned goal outcomes versus your actuals. Here again, all this goal planning and such and visualization of the plan versus actual on your goals requires a strategic planning workspace, which requires the SPM Professional Edition license. Portfolio planning doesn't have that piece. You can still look at all of your demands and projects and basically prioritize and then manage your roadmap. But this whole view into your goals, plan versus actual, et cetera, is only available for user or customers that have the strategic planning workspace. And then you can also break things down, right? You can document your portfolio goals or your product goals if you're a more product-centric organization. You can set your overall targets associated with that, and then you can manage and track the accomplishment of those goals and targets. So different levels of strategic planning here based on what's appropriate for the organization. So one key thing that we found is making sure that you have a really good governance as well as prioritization model when you're managing the intake of project ideas, project requests. As a steward of the financial investments that the organization will make or resource investments the organization will make, it's important to have a governance structure and prioritization model. And so, as I mentioned earlier, the new scoring framework that's available in the strategic planning workspace helps simplify that. but many of you probably already have various governance boards in place, but it's important that if you don't have those, make sure you get those in place or even fine tune them. So here you can see kind of at the lowest level, you're going to have that ongoing project governance board for in-flight projects, right? We want to protect the investment that we've already made and plan to make sure that we're going to achieve the outcomes that we've agreed to and the company is invested in. So at that level, you're looking at more execution from a governance perspective. Next, here if you look at business unit or IT, here again, another business unit. This is where you'd start looking at it from a demand management, demand intake perspective, seeing those come in, looking at those business cases, the associated benefits, your financial and resource constraints, and then determine which ones should be approved, what should be the right priority, what are the dependencies, so that we can then assign resources based upon availability to basically increase the throughput from a project perspective by effectively prioritizing and governing that demand intake. And then as we go up the ladder here, we've got an overall strategic kind of governance board here that's looking at it from a portfolio perspective. They're trying to assess and understand the portfolio of demands, how are we managing those, as well as the delivery of projects. And they can be the forum to escalate change requests and various other escalations from a demand or a project perspective. And then we've got the top-down strategic planning steering committee. As we just talked earlier, this would be where you'll be creating your strategic plans, the goals and targets for the organization there, and then that would drive various initiatives. Those initiatives, right, we're going to funnel into the demand management process, and some of those will eventually then be into the project delivery process. So having that ability to have that top-down strategic direction and then the bottom-up escalation is key for success as you're managing your project investments. So a couple things here to highlight that are new here with the new release with Zurich. Here in strategic planning, and this also is in core PPM as well, is the ability to categorize your planning items based upon the new value in the investment type field. So what they've done is they're deprecating the old investment class, investment type. They're adding in two new fields, investment class, investment type. And investment type, they have one out of the box choice option of artificial intelligence. And so that is a way that you can use that to filter your portfolio plans in the strategic planning workspace. So you can look at all of your demands or projects that are related to AI or artificial intelligence. So that's one thing that they're doing across parts of the platform. And then you can see here on the lower left here, by doing that, by adopting that, then if you're going to purchase the AI control tower, then you would be able to see those projects and demands that are aligned to artificial intelligence. Even before the AI control tower come out, and I'll kind of highlight that a little bit later, we saw a lot of organizations creating an AI strategic plan, doing a lot of governance around AI, even separate governance versus what I was talking about earlier, but similar capabilities. And they're focusing just on AI. And so we've done a lot of governance dashboards and reports so that they can track and view their investment in AI. And that's really critical right now because AI definitely kind of went through a lot of the storming science project phase, but it's still in that realm. And so they want to make sure that when they approve AI, they're monitoring and tracking that, tracking the outcomes associated with that, so that if they aren't getting those outcomes, they can quickly stop that particular AI model as an example and move on to new ones. So adding in this new capability, so you can start doing your planning around artificial intelligence will be key for organizations. So next here, when we look at strategic planning, some of the other changes, so they're allowing for some more choices, so you can change the colors of the different bars based upon attributes that you would have on some of the fields. So that's just ways you can enhance your roadmap. They're also making sure that when you scroll up and down on the roadmap, that the top milestone bar is static. So you'll still be able to see that overarching milestone for your portfolio plan versus the actual roadmap items. And then you'll also be able to use some different icons to distinguish different types of milestones. And those item milestones are, say, the milestones for each project, as an example. So those are some of the major additional changes here in Strategic Planning Workspace. Additionally, there's abilities here to kind of enhance some of the financial visibility here. So you'll be able to switch views. Here you'll be able to look at your plan costs here, even for past fiscal periods. Also, they've adding in the financial capabilities into, say, capabilities and features. Recently, it's been added to epics. So for organizations that are just doing 100% agile, right, they can start doing some of that financial planning using those entities. Say, for example, in epics, you can now have your resource assignments, which is part of the new resource management capability, as well as the financials. So if you wanted to just manage epics and not do projects, here again, depends upon what your executives in the organization want to view and to see. So you have a lot of that capability now just in the epic entity here in ServiceNow. All right, we'll go to the next slide. So just in summary, with strategic planning, you can create those top-down strategic plans, identify your various goals, track your planned outcomes versus your actuals. And so that's a great activity to do. That can be automated from your benefit plans, tied into projects, as an example. You can do that in an automated fashion, or you can do those manual quarterly reviews to see how recent initiatives are driving value for the organization. And then you've also got your execution planning. So think of that as if you're following the traditional legacy input of demands coming in off the portal, you're creating your demands outside of Strategic Planning Workspace, that can roll up into Strategic Planning Workspace, and then your planners can use it from there. So just highlighting that you can go from the bottom up there. So now we want to talk about some of the resource management enhancements. So first thing here, kind of as a best practice, we talked about the governance and prioritization model overall, and that's best that it's combined with looking at both your projects, your financials, and your resources as you're determining which investments to make for the organization. But we've also found that, say, once that committee says, yes, we want to go off and we approve this particular project, a lot of times we found for actual initiating projects, we found that organizations setting up kind of their resource management governance, i.e. the resource scheduling group, then that way they can take those approved projects, they can more do a deep dive into current resource allocations for in-flight projects, and then they can look at these new approved projects, determine when's the right time to actually allocate resources and start those projects. And so that tends to be a big need there, because our resources are the critical resource to enable us to deliver projects, deliver the outcomes to the organization. So if you don't have resource management governance in place, it might be something that can really assist in making sure that you are focusing in on the workload that the organization can consume. We've typically found a lot of times organizations that just say yes to all their projects, and then what happens is the throughput suffers because resources and people in the organization feel like that because they say yes to everything, then the organization is overwhelmed. They're not sure what they should focus on. But if you do good resource governance and only green light and start the projects based upon resource availability, then they have a manageable number of projects. You might have less in flight, but you're going to get more completed. The throughput's going to increase. And so overall, you're going to have a better outcome, and resources will feel like they're not as overburdened or stressed. So here with resource management and the resource management workspace, those of you that aren't on the new resource management capability, it's definitely time to migrate to the new resource management capability. We're assisting many organizations with that migration. There's new terminology, new tools, but the majority of that migration has to do with organizational change. The good news with that new capability, it supports both decentralized and centralized approach. And the decentralized, I kind of refer to that as a lean approach for resource management. So a simple way to kind of delegate out who can assign resources, so you still have that resource capacity visibility. So if you're interested in that, or that's something you need to pursue, definitely let us know. But the couple things here that they've updated in this release, being able to move your resource assignments. As we all know, projects are dynamic, so being able to move those to different time frame is key as you're managing your resource capacity. And then you'll be able to view different operational work types. So that makes it easier to understand all the demands when a resource manager is here using the resource management workspace. Also, here there are a couple of areas with the legacy resource management that are being deprecated. So the resource reports are being deprecated with the Zurich release. And so the resource management workspace has the new reporting capability there. And so they have some really good dashboards there, besides just the overall grid to manage your resource capacity and resource assignments. They also have some dashboards there. So just as an FYI there. And then also the resource allocation workbench, which is really being deprecated for new customers as of Zurich. So if you're a legacy customer, you're still using the old resource management, that's fine. But obviously it's planned to be deprecated at some point. But definitely for new customers, they'll need to use the new resource management capabilities. So just FYI based upon where you're at with resource management today. Next, we want to talk about project workspace, some of the enhancements they have here for the project workspace. Just like we mentioned earlier for strategic planning, here, both at the project and demand level, you can now use the new investment type field to select artificial intelligence, so that this particular project is all about implementing AI or AI models or AI processes for the organization. So that is one of the key elements here from a project workspace perspective. Also then some updates here from a resource management perspective. So they're making it simpler to align your resource assignments. So those are the new entities that replace the old resource plans. So the resource assignments, so you can allow that to align to your project dates. Now it's easier to synchronize all of your resource assignments from a single page. And then here, as we saw in the resource management workspace, the ability to move your resource assignments to different date range, so you can easily manage that. I really like the new resource management workspace. Like I said, the decentralized or lean approach makes it real easy. Project managers can do those assignments just like as if they're assigning them to tasks. So really a streamlined capability there for resource management. So then here we have some additional items that we kind of highlighted for strategic planning workspace around financials. So now you start looking at and be able to get visibility into your planning cost here versus just your budget and actuals. Then you'll be able to switch between the different views. So some good new capabilities in the project workspace around financial management. Thanks, Sean. We can go to collaborative work management, and we'll highlight a couple of the major changes. They've actually done a lot in collaborative work management. Those of you that have been using the system for a while. They've had a lot of investment in the resource management workspace, both basically creating it and getting it to a mature level that it is now. Same thing with the project workspace. Obviously, collaborative work management is newer, so we're seeing more development, more capabilities being rolled out. One of the key capabilities here is being able to manage connected work. So basically, any work items that you have rights to on the platform, you can bring those in and add those to your task board here. And then you can manage those with your team or your group. So you can now just go to one place here on the platform to manage your work. So that really is a great new capability. And then in addition to that, right, you can share these boards and the lists of tasks with other team members. So you can do a lot of that collaboration here as well. So the other capability, and this is kind of part of their journey as they're adding new capabilities here to the collaborative work management. My understanding is that basically they're planning on putting all the Agile Development 2.0 capabilities in collaborative work management over time. And so this is the first big foray into that. So they've added in sprint planning, which is really nice. So you can see the screenshot here of sprint planning, but you can also see it's all across different task types. So in this example, I'm not really having stories here. I could, but here I'm just looking at the regular tasks. They're part of collaborative work management. I've got some demand tasks. I have some catalog tasks here. I could have project tasks in here as well. And so you can see here, you've got different views. This is just another view. You could have the standard Kanban view, the Gantt view, or the list view. Those of you that have been using collaborative work management before, they're just giving this other view here to manage the work based upon how you work in the organization. So this is the start. You'll have your backlog. You can drag and drop those over here into your different sprints. You can create sprints. So that's the current capability. Actually, the sprint tracking and sprint management of sprints, I'm assuming is going to come in the next release, is my guess, but that'll be coming out shortly. So here for Now Assist for SPM. I don't know if those of you that attended our common project challenges resolved by AI, we had a great workshop recently here, and we highlighted common project management challenges and how AI can solve those. And that included ServiceNow as well as other third-party tools. So here I'm just kind of giving you a snapshot. If you have licensing for it, this is some of the new capabilities that they have for AI, and they're growing those capabilities over time. My understanding when the next one's coming out would be to auto-generate a status report. So they have this project insight email generation. So if you have the AI capabilities, you basically go into your project and you say, hey, I'm requesting my email summary. And then the system will use the AI agent for project monitoring that will monitor your project tasks. If tasks change there, if the dates change, your status changes, then it will basically fire off and create a project insight email for you. It's basically giving you a view as it monitors the majority aspects of your project, say your risk, your schedule and such, and it'll come back and give you a long email with what its findings are. So that can be a way to assist the project manager in monitoring what's going on and have more at their fingertips what they can do to take action to improve the delivery of their project. So you have meeting insights here, so you can summarize is a core capability in all the docs. We'll see that here a little bit in one of these other slides, but if you're using the rich text doc capability on projects and the new project workspace, if you're using that in collaborative work management, then you would have the ability to summarize those particular docs. You can actually have the AI agent to actually take those epics. So if you're going to use epics as part of your hybrid project or just doing epics for overall standard agile delivery, you can then use AI to draft your stories. Obviously, you'd review those and update those as appropriate, but it can be a time saver here to generate stories. Here's an example of that summarize that I was mentioning before here. But this is actually over in the summarizing from the product feedback portion of Strategic Planning Workspace. So that's another capability that's available for those customers who have the SPM Professional Edition. Here's the AI docs the docs and how you can use AI to do the summarize here. So it's a great way. You had a meeting, you can then summarize that meeting, or you can take, say, transcripts out of your different Teams meetings, if you will, and you can use that to do summarize. You can see here on the lower right, you can do docs of the product idea, your project docs, your planning item docs in the Strategic Planning Workspace, even your docs in the Enterprise Agile Planning space as well. So a lot of different options here for using the summarize option. And then they have AI, kind of a conversational way for end users to create and submit demands. So that's another current capability. Like I said, one of the future capabilities we focused on auto creation of status reports, and then doing persona-driven AI agents to perform multiple skills and multiple functions. So what we wanted to highlight here is just some of our reporting solutions. Customers have asked us over the years that, hey, I want to be able to share all of our project data, our demand data. We want to share that with our business stakeholders. I want to make sure that we're providing that transparency to them. And so we've created these portals. These portals can be shared with all members of the organization. It doesn't require that person has a license to ServiceNow. So just like the service portal where someone can go in and submit their ticket, they can use these portals. You can share with them all the requests that they've been submitting, from a demand perspective. You can give them the views you see here, kind of what's your current roadmap. They can slice and dice the information as well, and they can obviously export it. So it really helps with adoption in the organization. And this is also, you can be using these for various governance meetings as well. We do see that even executives, here's a larger version of this. We have a lot of CIO, CISO executives that log in every morning to understand what the business unit has requested recently, what the current project status is before they have those meetings with those business unit leaders. So very polished solution here that gives the information that's appropriate to the stakeholders, so they understand what has been requested, they understand what you're investing in, and what the current status is. Also from those portals, users can click in and look at the business case. They can click in and look at the status report. So we have these various reporting solutions here as well. They're part of those portals. And so that way, not only do they get the high level view, they can drill in and have a nice formatted business case in this case, or a status report. So we'd actually do 1 or 2 page status reports here. So what's really phenomenal there is that you have the opportunity to have consistent look and feel and layout of status reports, which is really key. We've also have the ability so that you could create a whole status report package. So you could just create a complete printout and PDF or a PowerPoint of all your status reports for a particular business unit or portfolio and send that out to executives. That can be self-service on the portal as well. So that's a key capability that customers are really thrilled with, and something that they were always requesting. Here's looking at from a project charter perspective as well. And then here's highlighting just a larger view from a status report perspective. So we have 2 or 3 templates, and then we obviously can tailor those to a specific customer's need, but a nice looking status report that really gives the core information as needed. So that's kind of what we wanted to highlight in terms of what's new with Zurich, as well as some of our reporting solutions. I'm just looking at time here. Um, we'll kind of skip over the implementation best practices, but we help customers every day implement SPM. We've been doing that for over 20 years. So uh, we definitely learn and continue to guide customers for implementing in a phased approach, as you see here. We have some of our critical success factors that's really going to drive uh, adoption in the organization. And one of the key things that we found is if you can give visibility, say, for example, via those portals or other dashboards, and you use that portal or dashboards in your governance meetings, if you just did one thing, that would drive adoption. Um, Everything that might not be updated right before that meeting, but right before that meeting, the executives are in there reviewing, or your governance teams are in reviewing, that will drive adoption. Obviously, there's a lot of other things you want to do for adoption, but if you only can do one thing, that's what we found is the key leverage point. The next slide. Obviously, organizational change is key, keeping them in the loop on what's coming, how it'll help them. Now with the AI, how it'll make their life easier. So a lot of opportunities here when we think about adding AI to managing projects. One thing I wanted to highlight, a lot of times we receive the question of, can I get access to some of the latest capabilities without upgrading to Zurich as an example? So as many of you are aware, you've got your project workspace, you have your resource management workspace, you have your strategic planning. These are all different plugins on the platform. A lot of these plugins now, it varies based upon different release, so it's not verbatim for every release, but they update these plugins periodically. They typically update them 2 or 3 or 4 times a year. And so what that means is you can get access to that new capability. It might be some new capability for the next release, but you could get it when you're still on the old release. So that's something to think about as you're working with your internal ServiceNow platform teams, that you can get access to some of this newer capability before you've actually upgraded to that particular release. Here again, it's not available for every release, but for majority of releases, it's available. So definitely keep that in mind. And then the last thing here, take advantage of the opportunity to reaching out and just scheduling your health check. We do those for free, give you an overall roadmap based on where you're at today. Schedule an opportunity to look at our reporting solutions, how you can increase adoption and stakeholder satisfaction, or just coming in and looking at implementation or migration. So if you're looking to migrate to the new strategic planning workspace, project workspace, or new resource management, those seem to be the common engagements we're working on right now. Or if you're looking for training, feel free to reach out and we can let you know about our training sessions as well as training opportunities. So thanks again, everyone, for participating today. We appreciate your participation. Feel free to give us feedback if these are valuable. We feel that they really are, and we'd like to provide additional value. So definitely give us some feedback. But thanks again for joining us today.